Hello, my name is Emily Gravitt, and for today's Emily Draws, we are going to be drawing two characters from this book here. We are going to be drawing Cyril and Pat. And let's have a look, find out what we need. For today's drawing, you are going to need a pencil. And if you're going to use paints, you need some of those. So I like to use paints like these. These are watercolours. Mine come in little tubes. Yours may come in solid blocks. Doesn't make any difference. And some paintbrushes or a paintbrush, whatever you've got, really, doesn't really matter. And also, when I'm drawing Cyril and Pat, I like to use some of these things here. Wax crayons. Oh, and might be useful to have a rubber as well, because you never know, we might make a mistake or two and it doesn't matter. So we're going to start off, let's draw Cyril. So for Cyril, I'm going to start with his body, and a bit like a lot of my characters really. Oh, hang on, let's use a different pencil, you can't really see that one. That's better, isn't it? He's sort of an oblong. Might get a little bit wider at the bottom, so two parallel lines, and then the top one sort of curves around like this. Can you see? I'm going to move it up a bit. I'll move the camera down a bit. It's a bit nearer the middle. Okay, that all right? Like that. So, and then it sort of goes in another curve along the bottom. That's going to be his body. And his head is pretty much a sort of curvy triangle, so comes to a point around there on his nose, like that. But rather than very straight sides, you could actually give the triangle a bit of a curve. So he looks a bit like that. Head, body, little ears. He's a grey squirrel, so we're doing quite small, quite rounded ears. If he was a red squirrel, there'd be a lot more fluff on them. That doesn't look bad. I'm going to rub out the little line in between. Now, as before with all of my draw along videos, use the pause button if you feel like I am going too fast, because I practice drawing a lot, so I probably draw quite a bit faster than some of you, but that's okay, it doesn't matter. The pause button is perfectly fine. So here's a squirrel. We're going to do some little legs. Now I'm going to do a leg here and a leg here. He's going to be standing, so I'm going to draw. It's almost like, can you see, it's like an L shape with a bit of a curve. And then another bit there. How's that going for you? Well done. And he's going to be kicking out his leg in front because I think he's going to be quite excited. So I'm going to do another one there that goes up at an angle, up that way. And there. Lovely. Now I'm going to rub out one of these lines, and the line I'm going to rub out is this little one here, because that's his front leg. I'm going to leave that line there, or most of it. I might just rub a little bit. This is a really good tool. Has anyone ever seen these? These are like rubbers in a click pen, so they're very tiny little narrow rubbers, so I can just rub out tiny little bits. I think I got it from an art shop. Okay, so look at our squirrel now. He's looking pretty good. We're going to have his arms stretching out this way. So, very much like some of the other characters I've taught you to draw, they're sort of just like triangles really. So go nearly towards a point, but then he's got little hands. So it depends how many fingers you want to do. I'm going to do 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I'm going to do 4. Doesn't really matter. And a little pad in the middle like that. Oh. And again, I'm going to leave that line because that's the arm that's behind his chest. So you'll still see his chest. And then I'm going to do his other arm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Better give him the same amount of fingers on both hands. Or paws. And then I'm just going to rub out this little line here, because that arm is in front of his chest, so you wouldn't see his chest through there. So there we have him. He's looking pretty good. We're going to give him an eye just below that ear, I think. Quite a big round eye. Looking that way. And actually I'm going to make a sort of round nose, and I'm going to use that rubber, the one in the little weird pen. Make it like that again. Maybe I'm going to do, oh, a happy thing, and I'm just going to rub out that bit there too. How are we going? We're going to do his tail. His tail is going to come from right down here on the corner of his bum, and it's going to go whee, just like that. Easy peasy. That is Cyril. Now if I got room to draw, I'm going to move him over a bit. There we go. And then I'm going to draw Pat on the other side. I'm going to use a ruler just so I get them standing at the same level on the page. Did a very faint line there. You can always rub that out afterwards. It's just so his feet end up on the same place. And then I'm going to start more or less from where the same height where his shoulders are, and I'm going to do another sort of rectangle like that, 2 parallel lines, maybe going slightly in with another bit of a curve and another curved bottom like that. How are we doing? And they're pretty similar, because do you know what, squirrels and rats, they're not that dissimilar really. So another sort of L-shaped foot. He's got a long foot with little paws at the bottom, little feet at the bottom, and he's going to be standing more like that. So I'm going to have one going this way as well on this one, because he's going to be standing a bit more forward facing, so I might make that a little bit more curved, and then maybe rub out that little line in the corner there. Okay, what do you think? Okay, so he's going to have a paw that's in front of his body. His paws are going to be sharper because he's got sharper claws, I think. I've got one there. And then his head is another triangle, but this time we're going to make it quite a bit longer than the squirrel's head, because this rat has a longer head, roundy end, big long roundy dropped nose, big eyes, and he's going to have the pupil in it looking towards him. And rub out that little line there. And then his ears, they're actually a bit bigger than a squirrel's ears. One there and one there. What do you think? You're going to look a bit confused. Good way to do that is he's going to curl. Going to do a little curvy line that goes sort of from halfway down his chest up to near where his mouth is going to be. And then you're going to do it back again like that. And he's going to have a little sort of paw that turns around like that. Okay. This is pretty good. I think he's looking all right. And then his tail is going to be a line. You can make this wiggle any way you want, and it's going to be a very thin parallel line. Hey, all the way back. And just where it crosses over, if I want it to look like it's behind his leg, I'm going to rub out the lines that are on his leg. There you go. I think it's time to put a bit of shading and colour in. So, I don't know if you remember, if you've done my videos before, you know that what I like to do is I like to have a spare bit of paper, which I can't find now, to check out the colours on. And I like to start with a bit of shading, and that can be a blue or a black that's really watered down. So you just try a little bit, and if it's not quite right, water it down a bit more. And then I'm going to do some shading. Let's start on Cyril. I'm going to shade that back arm and the back leg, because they're further away. They might be in shadow. Just a bit around the eye and the ear that's behind, and a bit underneath his arm there. Make him look a bit round. I'm going to do a bit at the bottom of his tummy there. Okay. And then I'm going to move on to Pat. And I'm going to just do the bit under his tummy like that. And his back arm. And his ears. like that. And I'm going to give them both a shadow to stand on. Do you remember how we talked about if you put a bit of shading underneath, it makes everything look a bit more solid and real, like they're really standing on something. Okay, so now we need some proper grey. And I found that you can water down a bit of black, but if you could got it, use a bit of white paint. Let me put this on here for you so you can see me mixing it up. A bit of white paint. I use a plate if you haven't got a palette.